Eons ago, when eagles were born, the Godhead let us reign free. We were on the run and the continuum, making choices in a cosmic spree. To exalt the self or enrich the whole, a thought process that endures today. A conundrum under a naked sun of what to think or when to pray.
You may know us as the Watchers, and we're watching over you. You may find the game is ancient, you might think the game is new. We come from different realms, and we are not all the same. You may know us as the Watchers, but we have our own end game.
Some came with high vibrations to straighten out a mess. Some came for domination in a cosmic game of chess. The final chapter's being written and the dice are being tossed. The game will come unbidden when the game is won or lost.
You may know us as the Watchers, and we're watching over you. You may find the game is ancient, you might think the game is new. We come from different realms, and we are not all the same. You may know us as the Watchers, but we have our own end game.
Are at their highest, but the die has not been cast. Two cosmic fleets of destiny, each fight to be the last. When your captain sails on riptides and angels fear to tread, the waves collide like thunder on an endless sea of dread.
As the Watchers, and we're watching over you. You will find the game is ancient, you might think the game is new. We come from different realms, and we are not all the same. You may know us as the Watchers, but we have our own end game.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Boy, that thunder. We need to do something to take care of that. We're trying to get a hold of our guests right now. We're going to be talking about, well, some exciting stuff here. Hey, Ron, is that you?
Hello, this is Ron.
Hey, Ron, Gary from Night Dreams Talk Radio. You are live on the air.
Wow, glad to be here. How are you?
I am doing good. How about yourself, my friend?
It is wonderful. We're waiting for winter to get here in northern Michigan, so it's all good.
Yeah. What type of temperatures are you at right now?
Oh, well, it's kind of like 45. You know, it's not winter yet, but we have full blown color. You know, we're famous for our color tours here in the Upper Peninsula, so it won't be very long. The snow will be falling.
Oh yeah, last year up here, I live up in Washington State, and and by a little community near Tacoma called Gig Harbor. It's right down on the peninsula where the fishing boats go in and out, and all that stuff. What I found that last year, this time of year, we were still in the mid 60s, upper 60s. I've been running the heater 2 weeks early compared to normal this time of year. And I still think the earth changes because, I talked to some of my friends across the country, and they're saying, we're having temperatures in the 90s yet. And we normally don't have those it's crazy all across the country at this point.
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see, you're where the Japanese current goes by, but I'll tell you here, because I travel all over the state all the time, and here we're running about 2 weeks behind for temperatures. And in fact, it's so obvious that the monarch butterfly migration takes place just 10 miles from where I live, and it is actually 10 days behind for its peak. So usually they would be long gone, but last weekend there were thousands of them on the Stonington Peninsula, and usually by the 15th of September they're long gone. So everything is a little bit later.
Yeah, I don't know. They're saying, the Earth is kind of a little bit tilted on its axis a little bit. That could be. They have so many different reasons what's going on. All I know is, things are really strange out there. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about, who you are, what you do, and about your books.
I'll do that, but we should come back and talk about this weather thing, because I think it has a lot to do with the precession of the equinoxes. Wow. And I really think that it does. But what I do, I'm a storyteller and a travel writer. I have 6 books in print, and my books are all about road trips on the back roads of Michigan, and one of them is called Oddities and Rarities, and what we've been doing lately is talking about this object that was found on the Keweenaw Peninsula, which sticks way up into Lake Superior, and we call it the Macintosh Stone because it was found by Charlie McIntosh, and it's a tiny little stone that is covered with very, very strange carvings. And so what I do is when I find out about something like this, I then dedicate as much time and effort as necessary to go and find out, first, does it actually exist? And second, can people see it? And then what does it mean?
Interesting. How big a rock is this? And is it like American natives carvings, or is it something else?
No, it's definitely something else. Now, I'll just say that a little shameless plug here. If you go to MichiganBackroads.com and click on radio, or there's a link there that says radio images, I have a slideshow running there of this object. It's quite small. It's about the size of 2 dimes side by side. And it was found on the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula. A guy I know named Charlie McIntosh was out picking agates, which are these little gemstones, and he had it for quite a while before he cleaned a pail of agates that he'd picked up and discovered that it's covered with these carvings. And I can describe them. There's 2 different sides to this. One side has what we originally thought was a crescent moon. And the other side, we weren't really sure. It just seemed to have gobbledygook on it. No one could really figure out what it was, and people looked at it through jeweler's loops, high magnifiers. But what we have discovered now is that on the side that we thought was a crescent moon, that's actually a ship. And on the other side, which was originally this gobbledygook, we thought it had a spider on it, it's actually an image of 3 different cartouches with 3 different sets of men One is a knight. His hairline and his face are very clearly obvious, and to his right is another individual who seems to be sitting on a throne, and they both seem to be in a position of adulation or celebration or prayer.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so what we found, and when we did, I went and had this rock, photographed with a photographer, get higher res photographs of it. And so if you look at the slideshow that's running, the original pictures of the rock are brown, but the higher resolution images are gray, that the high res process took all the color out. But you can very clearly see that there's a man in a kneeling position with a sword in his hand and a shield, and he's sitting in front of a man who's sitting on some kind of a chair or a throne. So I don't think that these are Native American, and we don't think anymore that they are Eastern Mediterranean. They seem to be Northern European.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It is really interesting. I didn't catch it before. The detail on it, too, is rather interesting. Now, it could have been...
Yeah, the detail... Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, you sure it couldn't have been like Vikings or something like that?
Well, this is entirely possible. I'll give you a couple of other things that I've since discovered since these high-resolution pictures were taken, and we can very clearly see the men. There's one of the slides that will come up will say, we'll have just the center, and you can very clearly see the man's hair and is holding something. There's a couple of things, we're not really sure what race, but there's a book by Barry Fell called Bronze Age America, and in that book is a picture that's very similar to the opposite side from where the men are, and it shows a two-hulled ship and a symbol that looks like a figure eight and a zero, which is called a buckler, which is also on this stone. And that image has been, in Barry Fell's book, has been interpreted as meaning thrust upon the waters as for a voyage. And then we found another image. There's a very famous carving in the eastern United States called the Westford Knight in Westford, Massachusetts. And if you look at the image that I have there, which I took from the internet, on his shield is the same figure eight symbol with a double-hulled ship. So we have three different objects with the same symbolism from different parts of the world and different time zones, but they all have to do with sea voyages. So what I'm putting together with the Macintosh stone is that it might have something to do with the copper culture, where there was copper being mined in northern Michigan in prehistoric times and shipped to Europe.
Interesting. How far was this rock found away from the water?
This was found 50 feet above the water line, the current water line, at the very tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula. Now, that is significant because that's the only reason it was ever found, because it was so far above the water line, it wasn't washed back out to sea, because 2,000 years ago, where this would have been found would have been the water line. But the water has sunk that far, in that the water, the topography has changed. There's been, since the glaciers receded from Michigan, there's been a phenomenon known as isostatic rebound, which is where the Earth has lifted up into the air because of the relief from the weight of that ice being removed.
Interesting.
And so this would have been found. This was found at a place that may have been the water line 3,000 years ago.
Interesting. I'm looking at that. It's not much. It's probably about the size of a 50-cent piece, kind of. But
yeah, tops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tiny.